Hi everybody, it's Whitney from All the Shelves. Today I want to share with you my review of our Readers Inc. book club this month, which was The Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. I just have this boring bound up edition, but here is the cover. It's a picture from the Peter Weir adaptation of the book, and I actually have seen that adaptation, but I was 19. I saw it in college and I didn't really respond to it very well. It's a very slow moving, kind of hazy movie. Like everything feels very 70s filtered. You know, when you get on Instagram and you choose the 70s filter, that's what that movie looks like. But it's also a period piece, which is I think kind of cool that it's remarking on contemporary culture of the 70s through the lens of the past. That's what the book does too, but it just wasn't working for me as a young adult watching serious movies for the first time. Since then I've seen a lot of Peter Weir's other movies and I really love him as a director, so I need to go back and watch this one again, especially now having read the book. So this is the story of a girls' boarding school who on Valentine's Day takes a trip to the countryside, the Australian countryside, to have a luxurious picnic. The girls are not used to leaving the boarding school. It seems like a very rare occasion. They go with their French teacher and who's a mademoiselle. They always refer to her as like that. So she seems almost like a little flighty, a little flirtatious maybe. And then they go with their sort of buttoned up, stricter teacher as two supervisors. And the first couple chapters of the book is just about their journey to the picnic site and their kind of languid, soaking in the sun type of experience. They're at this place called Hanging Rock, which from what I could tell is this rock formation that juts into the sky, and they're at the base of it. A few of the girls decide to go off for a walk up to Hanging Rock, and in the process somehow the girls go missing. A few of the girls go missing. One of them runs back down to the picnic site and doesn't remember anything that she saw, and no one now can find these girls. That's the basic premise for the story. And from the very beginning you get the idea that there's something supernatural going on here. You also get the idea that there's something satirical going on, and I can't ever quite pinpoint where that satire comes from, but I think it's that Joan Lindsay wrote this book in 1967. So all of the descriptions of these young girls being confined within social restrictions and then also by their teachers and headmaster at this boarding school kind of seem fairly ridiculous. You know, they're in the hot sun and they're all sweating profusely, and the descriptions of their sweat even is a little bit sensual, but they are not allowed to wear, you know, inappropriate clothing, which means they're not allowed to take off their gloves, for God's sakes, in the hot weather. And I think by 1967, that concept feels so ridiculous and so restrictive that it's almost funny. 1967, we're living in the middle of hippie culture, free love phenomenon, Vietnam, all of that kind of stuff. And I know that's from an American perspective and this is an Australian novel, but I have to imagine that those sorts of attitudes were sort of global. And the boarding school girl now is not just a symbol of innocence and purity, but also this symbol of a kind of like sexy, repressed, budding sexuality, right? One thing I really loved about the novel was the way that she set up binary relationships, and I feel like she set up every single binary that she possibly could. It was man versus nature, men versus women, classes, so rich versus poor, blue collar versus white collar, educated versus uneducated, a binary between age, between old and young, and she sets all of that up without being really obvious about the oppositions. And the boarding school setting gives her an opportunity to explore a lot of different characters in relationship to one another that produces those kinds of binaries. And the feeling that I get from all of these different conflicts between a bunch of different people is this feeling of suffocation, that nobody is really allowed to act out any of their emotions, be that anger or sexuality or love or hatred. Like none of it can come to the surface, and so it just boils underneath, and it boils within these social restrictions. So everybody within a certain class can maybe unconsciously or at least unspokenly agree that these are the kind of emotions that pervade our specific subset, right? But they can never express that to anybody else. So it starts to feel very convoluted. The little society at the beginning that starts as this coherent unit traveling to the picnic site becomes very fractured, irreparably so, to the point where people just completely fall off, right? I think people who like Marilynne Robinson might like this book a lot. Her prose might be a bit more pointed than Robinson is, and her plotting is a little bit more convoluted, but I think that the book has the same sort of fascination with nature and man and women's relationship to nature, and how men and women's relationship to nature might be figured different in certain societies. That comes up a lot in Robinson, and it comes up a lot here, so you might really respond well to this. This was another slam dunk pick by Conrad over at the Deckled Edge for the Readers Inc. book club. I never really had any intention of reading this book. I only read it because I feel like a part of that book club, and I'm so glad that I did. It inspired me to learn more about Australian fiction, to learn more about Joan Lindsay, and to watch the movie again. You guys know that I always like comparing films to books and thinking about issues of adaptation, so this was a great pick for me. Let me know if you decide to give it a chance, or if you have read it before, or if you're part of the Readers Inc. book club and want to add to this discussion in any way. The book club is taking the summer off so that we can all enjoy our own reading picks for a while, and we will pick up again, I believe, in September. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm kind of bummed that we're taking the summer off, actually, because I am a nerd and I like assigned reading. But anyway, that is The Picnic at Hanging Rock, and I will see you in my next video. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye.